today what I'm going to do is transition to. So I always try to find really cool book um, that has relevance to sort of themes of maybe things that we've been discussing in the kids realm. And one of those books, and so what we've been discussing is really loving kindness and being kind to yourself and being kind to others and intending that loving kindness to others. And part of that, part of I think the story that I told you is the difficulty for me practicing loving kindness was really was sending the loving kindness to myself as I didn't believe or feel as if I deserved loving kindness from myself, or et cetera, et cetera, and that it was much easier to send loving kindness to others. Um, and in that same vein, it's sort of about allowing your own light to shine, and how people feel often that they don't want their light to shine, or that they feel as if culturally maybe uh, from friends or family, that suppressing their own light. Maybe somebody is whatever it might be, but maybe they feel judged by shining their light, or they don't know how to shine their light, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is a kid's book. It's called Fiorenze's Light, that I thought was a really good book. Um, um, and so I'm going to read it. I'm going to show you guys the images. So Firenze likes dancing. Firenze likes books, but there is one thing Firenze does not like. Firenze does not like her light. It's always shining at the wrong time. And so Firenze is a firefly. And what do? Well, what do we all do? We shine our light in our own unique way, right? So she does not like her light, okay? It's always shining at the wrong time. At the movies, at slumber parties, and during games of hide and seek. So they can find her quickly. And she's sad. That's her mama. Your light makes you unique, said her mother. No one shines just like you. I'll cover up my light, Firenze thought. She gathered leaves and wrapped them around her until her light was hidden. How many of you have ever hid your light? Covered it up? Just a question. The next day, Firenze's friends needed her help. At the movies, Tick dropped his snack under his seat. Firenze, can you shine your light down here? What light? I don't have a light, snapped Firenze. At the slumber party, Natalie whispered, Firenze, make your light shine. I'm scared of the dark. But Firenze let out a loud snore and pretended to be asleep. Look, his name is Tick. And her name is Natalie with a G-N-A-T, Nat. During the game of hide and seek, Firenze hid in her best spot, deep in the dark bushes. Come out, Firenze, shouted Legs. It's too hard to find you when your light doesn't shine. Come out. But Firenze pretended not to hear and flew away as fast as she could. Firenze found herself deep in the forest, far away from her friends. She had hoped they would forget about her light. She felt very sad. Just as she began to cry, she heard a strange sound coming from the bushes behind her. Munch, 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 munch. Firenze flew closer to investigate. Munch, 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 crunch. I love it. What are you doing? Asked Firenze. Creating my masterpiece, exclaimed a beetle, clicking his huge pincers. I'm Kiri. I am using my magnificent pincers to make wonderful art. Isn't it amazing? It's lovely, said Firenze. As she looked at Kiri's art, Firenze's light began to shine through the patterns in the leaves. Oh, how beautiful, Firenze gasped, enchanted by the colors and shapes that appeared all around her. Wow, whispered Curie, your light is making my art even more magical. What a wonderful gift you have. Oh no, said Firenze, I don't like my light. I wish it would go away. She began grabbing leaves to wrap around herself. I understand, said Curie. I used to feel the same way about my pincers, but then I realized I am brilliant. I am wonderful. I am unique. I am brilliant. I am wonderful. I am unique. I wish I could feel like that about my light, Curie, but I don't, Firenze exclaimed, and she flew home. She said. A few days later, Firenze received a package. Dear Firenze, I made this skirt just for you. I hope you will wear it to my art show tomorrow. Your light is a gift. Let it shine. Love, Kiri. Trying on the skirt. Firenze felt nervous as she arrived at the art show the next day. But as her light glimmered through her skirt, she saw the faces of her friends. How lovely. Brilliant. See what happens when you let your light shine? While Firenze twirled on stage, she realized how powerful her light was. It was creating magical art, joy for her friends, and happiness in her heart. Suddenly, Firenze felt very grateful. She was a firefly. Firenze grew to love her light even when it was difficult. She always remembered the night she let her light shine for everyone to see. It's called Firenze's Light. I think that's a good reminder sometimes of the practices that we're doing, shining our light. I mean, how crazy is that if you're a firefly and you don't like your light? Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! If anyone has any books like that, please share. I'm always looking for good. I'm obviously always looking for good kids books because I like I read to my kids, and I also find that they have beautiful messages for everyone. because the messages can be so basic and yet powerful, and yet universal. And I've also written a few kids books, so I'm always looking at really good ways of trying to convey complex messages. And sometimes being able to describe things to children, is sort of, if you can describe it or explain it or tell a story to a child that has that they understand, especially complex messages, then most likely you actually have a pretty good understanding of it yourself. Before we go into our practice today, we've been talking a lot, shining your light, but we've been talking a lot about cultivating positive emotions, loving kindness, gratitude, joy, and really choosing where to pay attention to. Almost as if, in a way, you can create your experience over time. And at first, this might seem like, oh, there's no way that I have such control over these things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then with practice, you might realize that you do. And it's really about being aware and noticing the subtle changes in your life at first, because it may not be dramatic, right? It might not be like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. Maybe, could be. But what you may start noticing is little subtle changes at first. Okay. And as soon as you notice like the tiniest little subtlest change, like, oh, I perceived that a little differently, or I reacted to that a little differently, or I was less tense or less stressed, or, I experienced that with more gratitude. Okay. Pay attention to that. Be like, hey, that's really cool. Even if it's like 0.1%, right? If it's even that small, what your body and mind are telling you are that if that's a practice that you're doing, that you're actually going in the right direction, And what I like about all these things is that a lot of these are actually based in a lot of these practices, and the reason for many of these practices, and the reason for, in my opinion, the repetition over and 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 over again, is because you are rewiring your brain. You're actually rewiring the circuitry. You're rewiring the neural connections in your brain. And this is something that has really sort of come out in the last 15 to 20 years of research or so, because about 20 years ago or so, we thought that once the brain formed its connections, that at a certain point it was done, that it didn't make any new connections, or it just kept the ones that were already made. And it was done. But as we got more advanced with imaging and did various studies, not only in humans but also in animals, we realized that this is not true at all, and that the brain, imagine that it's like electrical circuitry, and it's constantly firing, right? And it's firing in the direction that sensory input is coming through, right? So if I closed my left eye, for instance, and kept it closed for years, even at my age, the area of my brain that goes to perceiving information from my left eye is going to start changing. And it might actually start adapting to what it sees from my right eye. Okay, because I'm not sending it inputs anymore. Right? I'm not sending it inputs anymore. And so this is also true with our well-being, with our intentions, with our loving kindness, with our practice of gratitude, with our practice of joy. Simeon writes, neuroplasticity. This is exactly what that is, right? And so as we go into our practice today, I wanted to reinforce certain neuroplastic principles that have come out of research that may help you in your continuation of this practice. All right. This is one of my favorite. Where attention goes, neuronal firing flows, and neuronal connections grow. All right. Imagine that. Where did we start with? Where attention goes, attention. Where attention goes, guess what happens? You start firing neurons. Neuronal firing flows. And neuronal connections grow. Neuronal connections are literally anatomic connections that come out of neurons based on the firing of that neuron, connecting one neuron to the next based on what? Where we place our attention. Okay. This is incredible. This is really, 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 really incredible. That we can govern and control the makeup of our anatomic brain based on altering where we direct our attention, where we choose to direct it, or where we allow society and culture and others to grab our attention and pull it. Right? So there's the external world that's trying to pull and grab our attention. And then there's our internal world of our awareness that has the power of choosing where to put our attention, as if it was like a light beam. Based on where you are placing your attention, moment to moment, moment to moment, moment to moment, you are firing neurons. As you fire those neurons, those connections between the neurons that are firing are going to start to grow and strengthen. It's just like going to the gym and exercising your biceps muscle or your arm muscle and doing it over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden having a huge bicep because you've exercised that muscle. By learning how to choose where you place your attention And where you direct your attention and to what you direct your attention, you are actually firing neurons, and those neurons are firing anatomic connections in your brain that will strengthen that connection, that pathway. Okay. That then leads to functional neuronal activation, leads to structural neuronal connection. Functional activation, structural connection. Functional activation, structural connection. How do you do the functional activation? With your attention. Where you're placing your attention is going to activate the functional activation of the neurons. Through that functional activation, you're going to get structures that are actually being strengthened, connected, etc., in your brain. Okay. I personally think that this is the coolest thing that you're probably going to hear for the next 10 years. Because you are your own neurosurgeon. And what's the surgery? What's the scalpel that you're going to use? What's the tool that you're going to use to go in there and cut this connection and create this connection and weave it together? All together now, your attention. So I'm going to go to neurosurgery residency and be like, guys, we have it. You guys have it. Knives and all this stuff. Let's just use attention. All right. You're actually restructuring the anatomy of your brain based on where you place your attention, based on how you direct your attention. Which then leads to, right? Which is why I do this practice, right? Which is why I do this practice of gratitude, joy, loving kindness, self-compassion, self-loving kindness, right? Whatever it might be, positivity, peace, happiness. Because repeated states become enduring traits. Repeated states become enduring traits. What is the state that you, with your attention, can actually try to repeat? Okay. What is the impact that your attention can have on your current state right now, over and over again? What state are you cultivating in this moment to have it become a trait? To have it become a trait. And what is that through? Neuronal connections that are being made through where we're placing our attention. That's why I focus so much on this on this cultivating positivity, cultivating joy, cultivating gratitude, cultivating happiness. Okay, because these are states. Initially, they might be a millisecond, but that's at the beginning of our practice. As we continue to practice and we continue to bring on that state, I'm going to bring in a state of gratitude. Well, how am I going to do that? Well, where are we focusing our attention? Are we going to focus our attention on something that we're grateful for? If we do, maybe the state of gratitude will emerge. If we do that over and over and over again, now we're choosing to place our attention in that direction. Our neurons are actually firing in that way. We get structural connections in our brain that are being formed. And now we've just created we've just what we've done is we've taken a state that may have been a few seconds, minutes, hours, whatever it might be, and now all of a sudden have it become a trait because of the structural connections that we are enhancing, that we are encouraging on a day-to-day basis based on the practices that we are doing. All right. So those have all come from functional MRI, imaging research, EEG, looking at various wavelengths in the brain, activating different wavelengths in the brain, looking at connections between different parts of the brain, et cetera, et cetera. All those aren't, people aren't just making this up. And this to me is one of the most powerful things of why to do the practice daily, why to bring in practices like cultivating kindness and loving kindness and gratitude and joy and happiness into your practice, where it's not like fake. It's not like I'm just faking. It's like you bring in a little bit of gratitude. If you're not one, let's say, to go towards happiness, you bring in something that you can, like maybe gratitude, or you imagine yourself like the practice that we did on Tuesday, sending loving kindness to a friend, family member, or somebody you have a really good relationship with or you love, and then having them reflect that back onto you. Okay. So let's go into our practice today. And essentially, for this practice, what I would like you to do is see if you can notice where your attention goes. See if you can notice where, as you sit calmly, just notice where your attention goes, and almost like kind of like list those places. Oh, my attention is going to the vacation I was just on, or it's going to the job interview that I need to go on. Oh, wow, look at all these. So notice, right? So notice all these places your attention visits during a 10 or 15-minute meditation practice. All right. Okay, so let's find a comfortable posture. A posture you will feel relaxed yet alert. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable closing your eyes. If not, having a soft downward gaze, as if you're looking off onto the horizon, maybe over an ocean as the sun is setting. And taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. And with each inhale, allowing yourself to be here now. And with each exhale, releasing any stress or tension that you may feel as best you can. Allowing your body to fully be supported by the surface it's on. And then choosing to breathe regularly for whatever works for you. And initially, choosing to focus your attention on a specific object that you choose. This is called your anchor. It can be your breath, a sensation, an emotion, a felt sense in the body, the repetition of a word, phrase, or prayer, a place that you can direct your attention to that you feel safe. And as you choose this place that you can rest your attention, just simply notice what else comes in. What thoughts, emotions, or sensations and just noting. If you were to have an imaginary scratch piece of paper, noting where your attention goes. Does it start planning, problem solving? Do you have thoughts about the future, ruminations about the past? Do strong sensations from your body come and grab your attention? Do you notice emotions that are coming, arising? You may notice a whole train of thoughts, planning, organizing, problem solving, figuring something out. You may notice your attention quietly resting. Just see if you can pay attention to what your attention is actually doing. Where is it going? Can you rest it as if you were putting it to sleep? Almost telling yourself that just for these next 5 minutes, there's nothing that you need to pay attention to in particular. Almost as if you could place your attention to sleep. And as it notices a thought or an emotion or a sensation, as a child falling asleep, your attention wakes up, notices it, and as you caress the child back to sleep, you're nudging your attention back to sleep as well. And it might pop up a few times. You may notice it difficult to rest. Whatever you are experiencing is true for you and is okay. There's no judging, there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad. It just is. Seeing if you can lay your attention to sleep. And noticing where your attention is now. Simply noticing. Has it ran away? Did it wake up? What are you paying attention to? Is that what you chose? Or did something come and grab your attention? Can you rest your attention just for a moment? Just this moment. There's nothing it needs to pay attention to. Simply resting. Putting your attention to sleep. And just noting where your attention is now. And coming back to your breath. Coming back to your anchor. And as we bring this meditation to a close, just seeing if throughout the day you can notice where your attention is. Where is it going? Did you choose the direction of your attention? And with that, taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. Feeling your feet on the floor or your thighs against your chair. Opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. Reorienting yourself to your room and surroundings. Stretching if you feel like you need to stretch. And just taking a moment to reflect on your practice.